Balancing marriage, fatherhood, and fitness isn't about having more time, it's about making the time. Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. Super excited to have you be tuning into today's show, where I'm going to be talking about how I balance being a husband, father, and working out. Again, super excited to have you be tuning into today's show. Now, before I dive into today's show, going over today's topic, I'd like to go over anything in my personal life that I think that you may find interesting, whether that's fitness, nutrition, or just anything. And also kicking off today's episode, I ended up going on 2 long runs last week. So I typically have been doing about 1 long run a week, anywhere from 7 to 10 miles, depending on how my legs are. Right now, I'm just being very consistent with that. Ended up doing a long run on Tuesday morning, and then on Wednesday ended up going off and doing my typical run. And then Thursday rolled around, and I was going to run 2 at the gym and then run 5 outside. I like running at least 2 miles on the treadmill. I find that it helps my legs throughout the week. So I was planning on running those 2 miles. And then life got just super, super busy. Wife had a doctor's appointment that I went with her to check on our daughter and make sure everything was okay. Talked to the doctors, and ended up just going a little bit longer than I expected, just to events that are out of our control. So it ended up being a pretty busy day, so didn't end up getting to run those 5 extra miles. So when Friday rolled around, typically was going to be doing 5 miles, and I'd already done my long run for the week, but ended up going off, and I was like, okay, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to do 6 miles, and then 2 miles, and then 2 miles. So went off, did 6 miles, honestly continued that on, and did another 2. So I finished that exact run at 8, and then about an hour and a half later, I ended up finishing off those 2 final miles. So interesting doing 2 long runs in a week. Typically don't do it, but running today on Monday, legs felt fine, legs felt normal. It was funny because last week I did 5 miles in under 40 minutes, which is, I think I ended up hitting a PR, and I think I talked about it on the episode, but hit a PR with that. And then came Tuesday, did an 8 mile run. So my legs were just shot on the 8 mile run. It's interesting. I was like 4 miles in, legs were feeling not too bad. And the last 4 miles, it was a grind to get through them, but I did. I was able to get through them. And then I lost my train of thought there. Led me into Wednesday, and then obviously Thursday was super busy. And Thursday I didn't sleep that great. We got a call for EMS that I went out on and came back home. Probably about, it was like a little after 9. I ended up getting to sleep about 9:30, 10. Another call came in at 11. Went to the hospital, dropped that patient off, came back, and got to bed about 1. And then got up about 6, and I did a workout in my basement. I have two 30-pound dumbbells, and a little bit more difficult to do a chest workout with those, but I am able to do concentration curls, hammer curls. There's a decent amount of exercises you can do with 30-pound dumbbells when you have it at your house, especially when it comes to biceps. So really enjoyed that workout, and then not a lot of sleep, but went off and crushed that 10-mile run. And something that I've been doing that just for me is, I used to run 6 days a week, so that would include Saturdays. And I found that if I increase my mileage a little bit during the week, Monday through Friday, I can run my 30 miles throughout the week, and I can enjoy the weekend as it is. So I have been enjoying that and really just getting these miles in during the week. And I don't know, I enjoy it. I like having the time off on the weekend. I like being able to get up with my daughter. She's been waking up a little bit earlier, and I like to just have that time with my family. So with that said, when it comes to today's episode, which again is how I balance being a husband, a father, and working out. And typically these episodes, I like to plan everything out in advance. I like to have my sections of what I want to cover. I want to have everything down. But I think today's episode, when I was going through and I was thinking through, like, okay, like, how do I want to plan today's episode? How do I want to go about it, and I just thought that the easiest way for me to go about today's episode would just be walking through how how I do it. There's easy days, there's hard days, there's days where I'm super busy, there's days where it's a little bit light. I'm sure everyone has that. There's days where my wife and I, you know, the we go throughout the day and it feels like we don't have much time to talk together. And then there's other days where we're really around each other, even though we work from home. But we're both busy with everything that's going on. So I would say, first and foremost, when it comes to balancing everything in my life, is utilizing my time the best that I can. So for me, that means getting to the gym early in the morning. So right now, I've been getting up at 4:50 in the morning, pretty much very consistent throughout the week, other than sometimes Fridays that might differ depending on how late I am out with my volunteering as an EMS. So I will make sure that I get up at 4:50 and I get to the gym. So that's first and foremost, like that's non-negotiable. Like that's how I get my workouts and that's what works best for me. Luckily for me, our wife is home and she can take care of our daughter when she gets up. So that affords me the hour or so, hour and a half or so that I'm at the gym to get my workout in. Then I have my morning routine set up where I come back from the gym, I have breakfast, and then I drop our daughter off. And that gives me about 8 to 9, about a 1 hour gap, a 1 hour window there where I can go and get my run in before my job. So that's how we prioritize. Okay, like I'm gonna spend an hour with my daughter, and then I'm gonna drop her off at daycare, and then I'm gonna go come home, I'm gonna get changed, I'm gonna go run, get my run in before work. And then have my typical work schedule, which is anywhere from 9 to 4, 9 to 5, 9 to whenever. Working from home, obviously it's nice being able to be a little bit flexible, but at the end of the day, you still have to go out there and you have to get your work done, whether that's me working for a company or me doing the work on my own. So with that said, it's building out this schedule and having this structure and this routine so that way I know, okay, like once our daughter home is home from daycare, I'm done for the day. I'm not thinking about work. I can be fully present with her. And then similarly on the weekends, I'm like, I wanted to switch it up so I could spend more time with my daughter and be able to get her out of bed, even though it might be a little bit different into my routine, but it makes an impact for me. So the biggest thing is just having this structure, knowing that things are going to get out of whack sometimes, and just bouncing back from them. Like I mentioned, I didn't expect to spend as much time at the doctor on Thursday. That's something that's outside of my control. On Thursday night, yes, I'm volunteering, but I can't control when the calls come in. They obviously came in late. I didn't want to live off of 3 or 4 hours of sleep, so I slept in a little bit later. But then I made sure that I was able to get my run in, where I typically wouldn't do 2 long runs in a week. But for this week, or for last week, I decided that I was going to do just that. So having that structure, having that adaptability is what's going to serve you in the long run. So it's making sure, like, okay, like who do I want to be as a husband? Who do I want to be as a dad to my daughter? Like as a husband, like I want to be fully present with my wife. Like, what does that look like? That's like, okay, when I'm outside of working hours, I'm focused directly on my wife. And the same thing can be said with my daughter, is that when she's out of daycare, like right now she's 2 years and let's see, June. She's about two and a quarter years. So 2 years, 3 months. So time's going by fast. She's getting bigger. She's getting super smart. And I know that there's only so much time that I have with her. So like, do I want to prioritize work, or would I rather prioritize my daughter when she's home? Because there's always going to be more work. There's always going to be more to do, and you might be someone that you're a high achiever. You want to get all your work done. Yes, I want to too, but I don't want to do it at the cost that it comes for me spending time with my family. And the same thing can be going for working out. I don't want to be so busy that I don't have time to work out, to hit the gym, to go on my runs. I find that anytime that I'm stressed, just going on a run is able to help me clear my mind. So again, when it comes to balancing being a husband, being a father, working out, it's having these priorities. It's being flexible with what you may encounter throughout the week, because as predictable as we want every day to be, at the end of the day, the most predictable thing about life is going to be the unpredictability of it all. I can't tell you what's going to happen later today or tomorrow or the next day. I would like to have an idea because I have a similar routine that I do each day, but I know that things can come up that I just don't expect and that I can't control. So I have to keep pushing forward anyway. So just again, it's having those priorities. It's having a schedule. It's knowing like what are your values, and for me, that's spending time with my family. Like time with my family matters so much to me more than like getting another work task done or pushing forward on a job. Like again, that's always going to be there. But the priority for me is my family, it's my health, it's my fitness, and that's my number one goal in life. Be a better father, be a better husband, lift more in the gym, run faster outside, and structuring my entire routine and how I live on a day to day is how I want to set the example not only for myself, but also for my family. Now, I know today's episode was short and sweet on how I balance being a husband, father, and working out, but there really is no secret. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours in the day, and are you wasting time on social media? Could be on watching TV, could be whatever, any number of reasons. You know, at the end of the day, if you're wasting time, this isn't to say that you can't relax or enjoy your life at all. But when it's time to get to work, it's time to get to work. When it's time to be a father, it's time to be a father. When it's time to lift, time to run, time to be a husband, like that is my focus, and I don't want to be distracted by outside sources. And again, that just comes back to the routine and the habits that you go out there and you set for yourself. Now, I hope you enjoyed today's episode on how I balance being a husband, father, and working out. And I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss the fitness lessons I want my daughter to remember.